This week, Capcom goes beyond. PlayStation 5 might be getting a pro version in 2024 and much more, because this is the NerdCave News, and I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes. Derek is out on assignment this week. He's being a good little boy. He's working in his job. But guys, this episode is brought to you by the Epic Games Store and our wonderful patrons, but more on that later. Let's jump into the gaming discussion this week. First up, the Capcom Spotlight announcement. There's a ton of stuff we're going to get into. Capcom just came in and was just like, dollar bill, y'all. Dollar bill, y'all. And yes, it feels weird not having a name. I 100% agree with Amy. It feels weird not having a name for Derek tonight. But, we'll go with my favorite, my number one, Delphine Warrior Princess, because Derek is a warrior princess, guys, at heart. Just letting y'all know that. At heart, he's a warrior princess. Well, let's get into the gaming discussion. First up, Capcom Spotlight announcements. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection adds new content. Releasing April 14th, this collection will include 4.99 patch cards that were previously exclusive to the Japan as physical collectibles. Now all players will be able to use the cards in Battle Network 4 and onwards. The developers also introduce Mega Buster mode, which amplifies your attack by 100 to get you through battles faster. I'm glad that they're continuing to work on this game, continue to support it, and that, people outside of Japan are actually getting more of this game, that they're getting 499 patch cards. That's a ton. So excited for them. Second on the Capcom Spotlight, we get some more Street Fighter news. Street Fighter 6 unveils a new commentator. The 8th commentator, Hikaru Takeshi, has been revealed. All commentators will have subtitles in 13 languages, which is dope. Capcom also revealed that Capcom Pro Tour 2023 will feature Street Fighter 6 instead of, Street Fighter 5. So that's dope, getting another commentator, and that there'll be subtitles in 13 different languages. So cannot wait to see more about Street Fighter 6. There's a ton of fighting games coming out this year alone. We're getting Tekken, we're getting Street Fighter, we're getting Mortal Kombat, we're getting the new Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi, which I think I'm the most excited about that. So a ton of cool things coming in the fighting community. Let's move on to our third in the Capcom Spotlight. EXO Primal gets a release date. Coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, and the Xbox One, and Steam on July 14th. The game will always be online and require a constant internet connection. There will be an open beta test with cross-platform matchmaking from March 17th through the 19th. So if you're watching this live tomorrow, if you're watching this later, you might have already missed it. But we do have a trailer. There's possible language. I'm just going to warn everybody that there's possible language in this trailer. But let's check it out and let's see what EXO Primal has got for us. Let me pull that up real quick. All right, here we go.
In every war game, Ace really is getting pulled back 3 years into the past. Back to 2040, right before the Stratovator fails.
You're a time traveler.
Kind of makes me feel like,
Leviathan is intentionally summoning
why
the
are
best
there
cannon for the
dinosaurs?
war game. But
What in
why?
the world? Okay, EXO Primal makes a little bit more sense now.
Chief, when exactly did you say your sister passed?
3 years ago,
3
one
years
of the
ago.
first outbreaks. Never found out more than that. You know how the
Chief
network
Haruka
was.
Lorenzo. She is alive.
She's alive on that island in the past. Dang, I want to be that dude. That dude's got all the guns. It feels like a futuristic Turok and like Anthem like had a baby kind of thing. That's what this feels like. Oh, that definitely makes me feel like Metal Gear Solid Revenge. Like, I wonder if there's like character customization and all that. Chief?
Another one.
What?
Still hiding some.
We getting some timey-wimey stuff up in here.
No sweat of mine. You're Lorenzo's newest for all this stuff.
Another EXO fighter recruit, right? Welcome to IVS.
Okay, so we getting like some character creation and everything. Pretty dope, y'all. Like, I didn't really remember anything about it. I'm just gonna be 100% honest, but kind of it's like a cross between like Turok and Anthem in there, and it's got some cool looking stuff. Like Capcom definitely has like its own like gameplay, like maybe that Dead Rising. It definitely feels like some Dead Rising. Instead of zombies, we're getting the old dinosaurs and everything. But again, open beta test is going to be this actually weekend and everything. So if you want to check it out, go and sign up for it. It's going to be a ton of fun. And yeah, beta is always great. They're always, so it's a ton of fun. And some of them are actually letting you keep your progress these days, which is pretty dope. Let's move on. Next bit of Capcom news. Resident Evil Special demo out now. The chainsaw demo takes place at the beginning of the game when Leon's first encounters the iconic European village. There's no time limit, so you can play it as many times as you want. You know, a lot of people looking forward to Resident Evil 4 remake. It looks great. You know, the chainsaws, like if you've been around long enough, you know the chainsaws and chainsaw dudes with it looks like he's got like a grocery bag on his head from Resident Evil 4 and everything. They're iconic. But I'm glad that there's not a time limit and that you can play it as many times as you want. A lot of I know it's been more of a trend where kind of like putting time constraints on your demos and everything in the recent past. So glad to see it. Go check it out. Resident Evil Special demo out right now. Well, let's move on to some Monster Hunter Rise. Sunbreak is coming out to PlayStation and Xbox. The expansion launches April 28th. A digital event is set for April to share info on the next title update for Switch and Steam players. So if you're big into the Monster Hunter Rise side of things, we're getting the update for Sunbreak and everything. It's going to be great. I really want to try out Monster Hunter Rise, but I like the Wulong game looks really, really good, and I hope that they've patched a lot of the things because it looks so cool. It looks so cool. So I cannot wait to see what more Monster Hunter can do, because Wulong has some really interesting things that I think will propel Monster Hunter to do even better with like building and everything in Wulong. You can build like these structures. You can build things to better traverse the environment, to better to take down these different monsters and everything. And the monsters in Wulong are pretty interesting as well. So maybe we'll check that out. I don't know. But let's move on to our second big story of the night. Square Enix CEO Yusuke Masuda hopes you will look forward to the blockchain games in the company's pipeline. Boo hiss, boo hiss. Despite the discord from fans about NFT and blockchain titles, Yusuke Masuda, CEO of Square Enix, is still optimistic that players and investors will anticipate their upcoming blockchain games. However, if they continue pressing ahead with these initiatives without careful consideration, it could spell disaster for them. Of course, none of these games have yet to release, so we still need to wait to see what shape of these blockchain projects actually take. The current state of the blockchain games, however, doesn't inspire much confidence. Masuda gave this comment on upcoming blockchain games in response to an investor being concerned that the sales from Final Fantasy franchise and other major titles might be too good too high for Square Enix to keep growing. Major title launches will not be concentrated solely in fiscal year 2024. We have organized our pipeline so that we will have a good spread for release in fiscal year 2025 and beyond as well. We also hope that you will look forward to the blockchain games we plan to launch in fiscal year 2024 and thereafter. So my take on this, a lot of people have tried to push NFT blockchain stuff. We saw the big issue with the Crypto Zoo with Logan Paul and everything. And of course, like, if you haven't checked out CoffeeZilla's like 3-part series on that, go check it out. It's really, really good. But a lot of people have already lost faith with NFTs. I never had faith in NFT or the blockchain. And a lot of these companies, a lot of gaming companies, really rushed to try to go do this. And I hate talking about NFTs. It's literally like one of the forbidden things to talk about on this show. But you know, when Square Enix, when their CEO has his head so far in the sand, it's like people do not trust this because they've been burned so many times. There've been so many scams. And we also see how short the lifespan of games are these days, especially games as a service. Anything that is dealing with, gaming long term is really hard to promise these days, because if people aren't playing it, if people aren't pouring money into it, then game companies cut games really quick so they can move on to the next thing, because they do eat up so much money. You know, it takes money to keep developers working on games, keeping servers up and everything, and seeing like them pushing towards more blockchain games, trying to bring that into that. I think they are, kind of being brazen about this. But seeing what they are doing with, Square Enix and everything, they cut ties with their Western side of things, but I think Square Enix is trying to position themselves for a potential buyout. This is something that I've been constantly, predicting, is like, I think we will either get Square Enix or Konami having a buyout in the next 2 years or so. But I think Square Enix is trying to position themselves as a viable company where they can have the product, have all of these things, so people would want to buy them. I think like the clear choice would be, of course, Sony. It would be really interesting to see Nintendo go with Square Enix, but I highly doubt it. But I think the one that would be really interesting would be Microsoft, because Microsoft and the Japanese audience have always kind of been like at a not necessarily odds, but they never really like communicated fully. But once Phil Spencer got in there, they definitely have like brought more JRPGs, more Japanese type games to Xbox. Xbox has done a little bit better in the X and S series this time around. Over in Japan, of course, Switch and PlayStation are doing much better, but for Xbox, they're slowly pushing a little bit more into that market. Not completely, but they are doing a little bit better. Why I'm saying all of this is, I think the blockchain should not be focused on. I think if Square Enix wants to, look forward to the future and everything, they need to be developing better games, not just Final Fantasy, because we saw with Forspoken that they closed Luminous Studios, and like there's been so many issues around Square Enix, so it's like they need to definitely put their money where their mouth is and not try to go with something that is not known. I'm not saying don't take risk. I'm saying people don't like NFTs and people don't trust the blockchain, and with all the financial issues going around in the world, people don't want to bet on something that is not going to make them money or not be secure. So that brings us to our ad mid-roll, guys. You can support us by using creator code NerdCave at checkout in the Epic Games Store. You can get them free games. All of it helps us out, guys. You can get Hogwarts Legacy. You can get V-Bucks. You can get awesome Sony games, which I think the Last of Us is fixing to come out on PC. The remake, you should check that out. Horizon Zero Dawn is on there. God of War Ragnarok, Returnal is on there. One of these days we'll get Ghost of Tsushima over on the Epic Game Store and everything. So guys, if you're over on PC, if you're a part of the master race, use our creator code NerdCave at checkout, and you can also do that on V-Bucks or any cards you buy in Rocket League. All of that goes to support us, and it doesn't cost you any more than just buying what you want. No NFTs, 100%. I agree. No NFTs. But you know what I say yes to? I say yes to the PlayStation news. Let's jump into it. A PS5 Pro is reportedly in development with a release possibly due in late 2024. This is a separate product. Excuse me. This is a separate product to the already rumored PS5 with a detachable disc drive, which is supposedly going to launch later this year and is expected to phase out the current version of Sony's home console. Details are thin on the ground right now, but it has been suggested Sony is looking to accelerate ray tracing performance in games, according to a patent published by Sony's Mark Cerny. If you don't know who Mark Cerny is, man is a flippin' genius. Excuse me, guys. A PS5 Pro would certainly fit the bill in this respect. Although nothing has been confirmed by Sony yet, Sony previously released a PS4 Pro as a mid-cycle refresh, and with Insider Gaming reporting that PS6 is not expected to launch until around 2028, it looks like the format holder is looking to extend the current life cycle around the same length as the previous generation. Excuse me, let me take a sip of water. With all of this, we've seen the PS4 Pro, we've seen slim versions, we've seen this not just PlayStation, but we also see it with, the OLED, with Switch. We've seen it with the Xbox One, the Xbox One X, the Xbox, and we've seen it with all, the Elite 2, all of these things. We've seen it time and time again. I don't think this is anything different than that. I think Sony is trying to essentially put out a more powerful version of the PlayStation 5, which is really powerful, but it is several years old at this point. Not everybody has gotten one because of supply chain issues and everything. But I think at this point, it's like, yes, you need to be forethinking to what is to come. So putting out a PlayStation 5 in Pro in 2024 makes sense. It's about halfway through the cycle, and then we'll get, in 2028, the new PS6 or whatever. So it's kind of par for the course. I'm excited to see what kind of stuff that they pack into this thing. Mark Cerny, like I said, is a genius. If you need any kind of, confirmation of that, go watch him talk about the PlayStation 5 when it was like the tech behind it and everything. Blew my mind. I didn't know half the stuff he was saying, but he's great. He's really, really intelligent, and I think, anything that he's behind, 100% support. I'm going to take another drink, y'all. Much more difficult when you don't have a co-host to read all of this. Let's move to the second Sony story. Microsoft's current offer to Sony for Call of Duty will, quote, irreparably harm competition and innovation in the industry, says Sony. Sony continues to argue that the deal is anti-competitive and therefore cannot be allowed to happen. Its latest statement, reported by Axios reporter Stephen Tutilio, Sony says that the current offer that Microsoft is proposing regarding Call of Duty will irreparably harm competition and innovation in the industry. Redacted versions of the observations filed by SIE and Microsoft on the CMA's remedies notice were made public this week. Information regarding the terms of an offer made by Microsoft to provide future Call of Duty releases on PlayStation was redacted at the request of Microsoft. We believe their current offer will irreparably harm competition and innovation in the industry, says Sony, even though the FTC are the ones that are actually suing Microsoft over the deal. The UK CMAs are the ones who have more power to potentially block it from it happening. It's possible that CMA's decision will ultimately sway the course of the industry, at least for the next few years, if not beyond that. we keep talking about this. This story keeps going. Jim Ryan is trying to block this hardcore. And at this point, it is... I feel like it's a done deal. Like, I feel like it is... The CMAs are going to rule in favor of Microsoft. Like, the pettiness, the issues that are going on, and there to go a little bit further on the story, I was reading earlier today, there's several studios that have written letters in support of Microsoft's purchase of this. Not just not Microsoft studios that are third party, saying that it would help actually, level the playing field with Sony, and it would help Sony be more that it would actually challenge them, make them more competitive, thus making the industry better and everything. So there's a lot of back and forth here. There's a lot of money going on. There's a lot of lobbying and everything. But I do feel that eventually, sometime this year, we will see the closure of all of these issues, and that we will see Microsoft finally be able to purchase Activision Blizzard and be able to move forward and everything. I think Sony at this point needs to figure that out. Like, I know in their minds if it's like the worst thing that could actually happen or whatever, but I think they need to realize it's like the times are changing, and they need to put themselves at a position to take advantage of that, to be on the better side of those things. Because right now they're looking very childish. They're looking like, just it's just, like, it's just business. But they, on the outside, all the gamers are like this. It's like when they wouldn't put crossplay in there. Everybody else was like down to do crossplay and everything, but Sony was the one that was, didn't want to play ball and everything. But the gamers finally won out and everything. So I feel like PlayStation, I said it last week, PlayStation had gone back to kind of PlayStation 3 era and everything with the way they're deciding things, the way they're messaging, the way they're acting. And it's kind of sad. It's like, I love PlayStation. Me and Derek are hardcore Sony fans and everything, but I love Microsoft as well. Some of my favorite games are Microsoft games. And, I love what Phil Spencer has done with Microsoft. So I can only imagine how people, that are on the outside and everything, what this is doing to like their view on Sony. So only time will tell, but I do think we will eventually get this to actually go through, and then we'll start from there. Hopefully Sony will realize before and, not make stupid mistakes. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. You know what I mean? They got to get with the times. Exactly. They got to get with the times. And like, if they would have had the money to purchase Activision Blizzard, they would have tried it as well. But they didn't, and I think their reaction to Microsoft buying Bethesda was to buy, they bought several smaller studios, and then they bought Destiny's developer, Bungie, also the developer of Halo back in the day. And then, Microsoft was like, okay, that's cool, man. I'm glad y'all got, Bungie. They're great guys. And it's like, we're buying Activision Blizzard. And then they lost their mind, because that's a very large, like, Bethesda and, Activision Blizzard. Those are like two major developing houses, companies and everything, with several developers under those umbrellas and everything. So it's like, if they had the money, I think they would have tried to go after it, but they don't have Microsoft money. So it is what it is at this point. I think Sony needs to, realize the writing's on the wall and, try to get a good deal out of it. Try to mend some bridges that Jim Ryan has just been burning and ripping up and chunking at people and everything, because he's definitely muddied the messaging on all of this and made it seem very petty. Let's jump into some PlayStation quickies. The latest PS5 system update includes new animation for Platinum Trophy unlock. PS Plus Essential April games lineup include Meet Your Maker. PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium games for March are highlighted by Ghostwire Tokyo, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, Chia, Rainbow Six Extractions, Immortals Phoenix Rising, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Sony's Shuhei Yoshida is being honored with a BAFTA Fellowship. Congrats. Let's put some GGs in the chat for Shuhei Yoshida, my man, the graceful one himself. Love him. That's amazing. Congrats, Shuhei. So happy for you, man. Forspoken has already been discounted on the PlayStation Store. Forspoken launch sales were lackluster, says Square Enix. Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores, being a PlayStation 5 exclusive, allowed Guerrilla Games to charge forward in its development. Last of Us Bill's Town has been immortalized in Sims 4. HBO's The Last of Us Season 1 confirmed for physical release on July 17th. The Last of Us star Bella Ramsey has finally started playing the game. The Last of Us finale pulled 8.2 million views. The Last of Us surpasses House of Dragon in whole season viewership. Neil Druckmann says they'd only consider recasting Bella Ramsey if she wanted to leave. The Last of Us 2 will have more infected. Season 2 will also explore the infective hive mind in depth. And The Last of Us prequel was once planned with the goal of exploring Ellie's mother. The Last of Us Part 1's PC specs have been revealed. And Neil Druckmann promises more info on The Last of Us multiplayer out later this year. A lot of cool news, a lot of awesome stuff in there. The premium games from March, extra and premium and all of that, some really good ones in there. If you have not checked out the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, you definitely should. The little bit that I played of Immortals Phoenix Rising was really good. And Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, very, very awesome. So a lot of good stuff in there, and I cannot wait for Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. And he says, yeah, I saw something about her possibly being recast, but doesn't make sense if it's doing so well. I think it's like there's a time jump between 1 and 2, and I think that's where people were like concerned or whatever. But at this point, it's just like she's doing a great job. She's I didn't know this. Allie actually told me this. Like, she's like 18. I was like, what? She doesn't look it, but she's like 18 and everything. So, because like in the show, she's supposed to be like 13. So, I think of it, some of it is like the way they've like, dressed her, the way like her makeup and all of that is makes her look younger and everything. Plus, she is a shorter girl and everything. So, I don't know. I was very surprised that she was that old. I was like, what? But hey, that girl that plays, I think it's Claire in Dairy Girls is like 30 something. I was like, what? That's crazy. Like, what is going on here? Guys, we got the Patreon quick hits. That means this next section is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. You can become part of the ship, part of the exclusive crew by going over to patreon.com/nerdcave. You can go support us there, guys. You can pick up all cool, awesome stuff. You can get all the cool things. You can help us make shows just like this, just like our very exclusive stuff, and support all the streams that we do and everything that we're working on behind the scenes that you get a little look at. All those good things by going to patreon.com/nerdcave. Pick the tier that best fits you, and it helps us out a ton. Y'all, it really does. It really, really does. So let's jump in. I got to clear my throat with this one. There's not as much this week, thankfully. But the Patreon quick hits are as follows. The Lord of the Rings Gollum launches in September. Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2 Mega introduces Eren Yeager skin, grind rails, and a neon cityscape. Fortnite dropped support for Windows 7 and 8 computers, so if you're still playing on a Windows 7 and 8 computer, you gone. Epic Games ordered to pay $245 million in refunds to Fortnite players tricked into unwanted charges. A lot of the kids that getting mom and dad's credit card on their phones playing that. So $245 million, that's a lot. The Castillo Protocol, the Callisto Protocol Contagion bundle with new death animations is out now. Outlast Trials enters PC early access May 18th. Xbox confirms it won't be at E3 2020 on the E3 2023 show floor. E3 2023 organizers confirms AAA companies will appear as registration opens. PC versions of Rockay City releases March 18th or March 28th, with console versions out in June. Hogwarts Legacy stats reveal 406 million hours played and 2 billion Dark Wizards vanquished. That's a lot. New Castlevania possibly hinted at a Konami trademark filing Project Zychron. GameStop stocks movie starring Paul Dano and Nick Offerman premieres October 20th. AEW Fight Forever faces more setback as DCW opposes Fight Forever trademark. Silent Hill 2 Remake Studio doesn't rule out working on more games in the series. A job listing seems to indicate Mafia 4 may still be in pre-production. The next mainline Hitman game is on a little bit of a hiatus, says IO Interactive. There are no plans for Diablo 4 on Game Pass. Valheim is now available on Xbox Game Pass, while PlayStation's version not currently in the pipeline. Raid Shadow Legends is getting an animated show adaptation. Report Tim Cook greenlit Apple's VR headset release over objections of the design team. Tekken 8 unveils martial law. System Shock Remake releases for consoles still up in the air. PC launch due May 30th. Dead Island 2's game length is around 20 hours. Puzzle Quest 3 coming to PlayStation and Xbox on April 18th. Tron Identity gets April 11th release date. The FTC has filed a complaint against Microsoft for refusing to provide requested documents after 24 requests to do so. Resident Evil 4's DLC reportedly include Ada's Separate Ways campaign. Fuse Games is a new studio formed by Criterion is working on a AAA title. Ghostwire Tokyo launches on Xbox on April 12th, along with Spider's Threads update. They're going to add like a few more enemies and all of that. But I find it interesting. Sony has done this twice now. Because they had to deal with Bethesda to get Deathloop for a year and then Ghostwire for a year. And before it goes out on Xbox and everything, because Xbox owns Bethesda now, and they did honor their deal, which I think, is big of them and legally of them. But PlayStation will put their game out on the free side of things, so people will get it on PlayStation and everything. But a few things that I did want to hit in there. A lot of people not going to E3 2023. Like, I feel like it should be done by now. You know what I mean? Like they've tried to bring it back, and I love E3. E3 is like one of those times of year that just really it's just an exciting time. It's been that way since I was, young in high school and everything. I remember watching Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb, G4 covering E3 during the summer at my grandmother's house. Like, it was such a cool time. It was like I blocked out that time. I'm going to go watch E3 and everything, and watch all the reveals, watch the the different conversations, the different press conferences and everything. And, going into where we would cover that on this channel and all of that and talk about it on the podcast and everything. Like, E3 has been a huge part of my life, but the way E3 has gone, where, you know, the big three have literally pulled out of the show and doing their own things, and then EA doing their own thing. You know, it's definitely changed like the workflow of how E3 works. And now with Jeff Keighley having, you know, Summer Games Fest and everything, E3, like, if you're not having these big companies there, and yeah, you are open to the public, it's like, what AAA companies are you talking about? You know, you might get Capcom, maybe Ubisoft. You know, Ubisoft has their own thing as well. Maybe Konami, which they're trying to get back into it. We were talking a little bit about Castlevania and everything. Like, it's one of those weird places. It's like, are we actually getting a good show? Or, you know, is the ticket worth the price type deal? So I'm curious if E3 is going to last past this year. I think it won't. I really don't think it will. And then Hogwarts Legacy, crushing it, guys. Continued to crush it. I saw, like, you know, people were trying to, you know, comparing, like, Hogwarts Legacy sales to Elden Ring, which was a game buster, you know what I mean? But it is a niche game. But Hogwarts Legacy has sold crazy amounts of copies, and I think that's awesome. You know, a lot of people try to dog the game. A lot of people, you know, it might not be as deep as, you know, like replayable as Elden Ring and everything. I think, you know, there is replayability in Hogwarts Legacy, but you look at it and it's like, people have been wanting this game for years, you know, and just because you might not align with, you know, the views of somebody that doesn't even work on the game, it's like, people are going to buy this game. People are going to want to enjoy it. People are going to, you know, do all of these things. So I'm glad about that. I love that the people that put blood, sweat, and tears into it it's paying off. 2 billion Dark Wizards been taken down, guys, and that's great. Cannot wait to see what they do further for the game. Do we get Quidditch? Do we get some DLC on this? I know they're talking about more games, but I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with all of that. But guys, that is the news, and I'm, you know, what can I say? What can I say? It was a little bit short of amount of news this week and everything, but a lot of cool stuff in coming out, guys. There's a lot of games coming out. I'd love to hear what you're playing right now down in the comments. I've been working on some Plague Tale Requiem. I've jumped back into that game, trying to play a little bit of it. I play Hogwarts on stream and everything, so I've been really enjoying Requiem. The story is really cool. Like the mechanics, talked a little bit about last week and everything. Like the way they've improved the game is really, it's awesome. Like to see these smaller studios do such great things and everything. So let us know what you're playing down in the comments below. And guys, you can go support us over on patreon.com/nerdcave. The more people that jump on that, guys, we're working on trying to get an anime show going here. So once we hit 12 patrons over on patreon.com/nerdcave, we're going to be jumping into an anime show, which I know Derek's excited about. I'm excited about, just to be able to sit down and just talk about anime. I know we've been chatting about it before and after shows and everything, but it's going to be awesome to be able to just sit down and chat about it without having to, you know, interrupt it with anything else. It's just going to be anime and get to talk about Spy Family and My Hero Academia and all the good stuff, guys. All that good stuff. So, guys, thank you. If you haven't already, hit that like button. This has been Zach, and we'll see you next time.